Hello friends, in this video we will be starting with microprocessor 8085 which is there in GATE examination syllabus. Let us begin. So let's start with introduction to microprocessor. So to begin with microprocessor, you should recall the block diagram that you have already seen while learning computers in school days. So if you remember, you must have learned in this way. The main element of the computer system is CPU. Then along with CPU, you have devices like input devices as well as output devices. Input devices will provide input data to CPU, which is called as central processing unit. And the main element of the CPU is what we call as a processor. It is going to process your data which you are feeding with the help of input devices such as keyboard, mouse, scanner, etc. After your data is processed, now you are interested to see how your processed data look like or what is the result of this processing. And to do so, you require output devices such as monitor, printer, etc. So after processing, this CPU is going to provide this data to output devices. But then computer is not only about giving the data, getting it processed and then seeing at output devices, it is also about storing this processed information. This processed information can be completely processed or it can be partially processed. You may require the same data again and again, and to do so you require some memory. So what this CPU does, it may store this information into a memory. So it does not only store the memory, but also it is going to retrieve the information whenever necessary. Definitely this arrow has to be bidirectional. The lower direction will show you that CPU is storing the information and the upward arrow indicates that CPU is retrieving the information that it has stored into the memory earlier. Am I right? So this whole system is what we call as a basic computer system. Now, as you can see that these input devices, output devices as well as CPU along with the memory, all of them are different elements or different blocks and all of them are connected with the help of those set of lines. Now, those set of lines through which they are connected to each other, because of which this discrete system has now become one system only, and this is what we called as bus. So those connecting lines which are connecting input devices with CPU, CPU with output devices, or maybe CPU with memory, those set of lines, those connecting lines are called as bus. So let us define what is exactly meant by bus. See, bus is defined as bunch of conductors. For example, you have taken one conductor, then you have taken second conductor, third conductor, fourth conductor, and so on. You made a bunch of conductors together. This bunch of conductor is what we call as bus, where one conductor is going to carry one bit, where one bit means it is either 1 or 0, logic 1 or logic 0, right? So bunch of conductors is what we call as bus, where one conductor is going to carry one binary bit. So tell me, what if we have two conductors? So two conductors are going to carry 2 bit. Or suppose we have 16 conductors, then 16 conductors are going to carry 16 bit, and this is what we call the size of bus. So size of bus is basically nothing but number of conductors that are residing inside the bus. So the definition says bus is bunch of conductors, and size of bus is always equal to number of conductors which are residing it, and unit is in terms of bit. So 16 conductors makes 16-bit bus, or 8-bit bus, meaning that it has got total 8 conductors inside it. So unit of the bus or size of the bus is in terms of bit. Bunch of conductor is what we call as bus. So as I said, every conductor is going to carry some ones and zeros. So basically these ones and zeros are just numbers or some information. What do you think? Are they just number or information? Of course it is some information. Now depending upon that, which information it is carrying, we have classification of buses. That is, if that information is something what we call as an address, it is called as address bus. If that information is data, then it is called as data bus. And let's say if that information is nothing but control signals, then it is what we call as control bus. So we have three types of buses: address bus, data bus and control bus. So address bus is going to carry an address. Data bus is going to carry, of course, data. And suppose if there are control signals which are carried by particular bus, then that respective bus is what we call as control bus. So there are mainly two control signals which are called as read and write. So now we have three types of buses, that is address bus, data bus and control bus, and all those buses are collectively known as system bus. So whenever I say system bus, it means I'm actually talking about all the buses together, that is address bus, data bus and control bus, and the owner of this bus is nothing but a microprocessor. So all those buses are collectively known as system bus. So going back to the block diagram, so here the examples of input devices can be taken as keyboard, mouse, scanner, etc. Or output devices can be taken as monitor. Along with that, we can say printer, etc. And now let's talk about the memory. Even memory, there are two types of memory that we use, either RAM or ROM. So when it comes to memory, it is classified as RAM and ROM. The further classification of RAM is nothing but SRAM and DRAM. SRAM stands for static RAM and DRAM stands for dynamic RAM, whereas ROM is also classified as simple ROM, programmable ROM, erasable and programmable ROM, electrically erasable and programmable ROM, and last is flash. So these are types of the memory. So basically RAM, I'm sure you know that it is what we call as read and write memory, also called as random access memory, whereas ROM stands for read only memory. So a particular memory from which you can only read the data. Within RAM, we got two types. One is called as SRAM, the other one is called as DRAM. SRAM stands for static RAM. These static RAMs are nothing but nowadays we are using cache memories. All those cache memories which are bigger in size but quite faster as compared to dynamic RAM are used in our mobile phones also nowadays. So these are nothing but cache memories. Whereas dynamic RAM is the RAM that we use mainly in our computers, that whenever you say that the RAM is 8 GB or 16 GB and so on, it is basically the dynamic RAM you are talking about. So this dynamic RAM is the main RAM used in computers. Now let's talk about ROM. In ROM there are various types. The first one is called as simply ROM, which stands for read only memory, in which the program is already stored, you can only read it and you can only execute it. See, here U means it is what we talking about in terms of computer or CPU. So CPU can only read the program which is existing inside the ROM. It can read it, it can fetch it, it can actually decode it and it can execute it, and that's it about the ROM. Now when it comes to programmable ROM are basically called as one-time programmable ROM. So you can program it but only once, and once you have programmed it, then it has simply become ROM only. Then comes EEPROM. EEPROM stands for erasable and programmable ROM. Now this is basically used for an experiment. For example, now you have a ROM. It is something that program is already stored. You can only read and you can execute it. What if you want to modify it? So it is possible only in case of EEPROM. But the problem with EEPROM was it was erasable, but then it was erasable with the help of ultraviolet rays, and that was the tedious procedure. If you want to really wipe out the program inside EEPROM, then you should have the proper arrangement in the lab where you can erase the memory with the help of this ultraviolet rays. So it was a tedious procedure. Every time you have to actually remove that memory from the circuit and you have to place it on a glass plate and then you have to expose it with the help of ultraviolet rays. So it was a tedious procedure, and to avoid that they came up with a new product called as E2PROM, which stands for electrically erasable and programmable ROM. So yes, of course it was like EEPROM only, it was erasable as well as programmable, but this time erasure technique were replaced with the help of electric pulses instead of applying ultraviolet rays. So you don't have to remove that IC, that is E2PROM IC, from the circuit, and in order to expose it with the help of ultraviolet rays, by just applying high voltages, the program inside E2PROM can be removed. So it was quite easier, that is erasure procedure, in case of E2PROM. Now the advanced version of E2PROM is nothing but a flash memory. Now this is that memory that now you're using inside your USB, that is Universal Serial Bus. So flash memory is basically advanced version of E2PROM. The reason why it is called as flash, because the erasure speed is very fast as compared to the E2PROM. So we can actually say that the data inside the flash can be erased instantly, that is within a flash, that is within a second, and that's the reason why it is named as flash. So these are types of ROM, and these are types of RAM also we have seen, that is SRAM and DRAM. Your static RAMs are basically cache memories, and DRAM is basically the main RAM that you use in your computer as well as in your mobile also. So I'm sure you must have got enough idea about the basic computer system. In next videos, we will be learning this microprocessor in detail. Thank you.